Okay, before I started today, I just want to say first off, I'm in Studio 6 tonight, today. There's Studio 4, there's Studio 5, and there's Studio 6. This is Studio 5, technically. I'm sorry about that little mistake there. As you can hear, it's a kind of an echo. You know, this is French architecture at its finest, and we're not in France. I don't even think it's Greek architecture. Well, Greek architecture would be pillars and columns or something like that. French is more known for high ceilings and hallways that don't go anywhere. Before I started, I wanted to talk a little bit about The Last Jedi yet again. I won't take up a lot of time this time. I'm going to say that my opinion of the movie, my assessment of the movie has changed, and it has gotten worse. When I did the show, the big show with David Anderson, talking about The Last Jedi and all that, and then going through the whole history of Star Wars, we listed our top 10 or top 9, as it were, since we're up to 9 movies by this point. And Last Jedi was third from the bottom, I want to say. I had it better than Jedi, and Attack of the Clones was the final, the worst one out of that. I have now revised my thinking to put Last Jedi at the bottom of that list. It is now the worst Star Wars movie that I've ever seen. The worst attempt. It's better. It's worse than Jedi, and it's worse than Attack of the Clones. And what caused this was very recently I finally got the opportunity to see Blade Runner 2049. Blade Runner 2049 is a sequel 30 years in the making. It has less of a canon. Admittedly, it has less canon because it's not really a franchise thing. It was sort of made from love. It's like a labor of love made by people who love the movie in addition to people who actually worked on the original movie. And I saw there's something, it was made with such devotion to the material and from such a place that said we want to make a movie that compels and inspires people, and it was just a beautiful movie. It was made. It has its faults, yes. It has its flaws. It's not as good as the original. There's a lot in there I would have changed, but as a movie, it's wonderful. It's a fine sequel. It's a worthy sequel, and its reputation will only soar as the years go on. So when I look at that, I see, hey, wait a minute. In 2017, 2018, you can make decent movies. You can do that. There's no need for any of this nonsense that's going on in Hollywood today. So I was like, this is a decent movie. So because of that, my absolute enthusiasm, and love for Blade Runner 2049 has caused me to hate Last Jedi even more, because they had every opportunity they could to make a really good movie. Instead, they chose not to. It's an interesting choice. It's a brave, bold choice. I just wanted to play a little bit of this. This is a nice Last Jedi rant compilation from a very clever YouTube channel called Inconceivable. Have a listen. Sorry, that's not it. Have a listen to this.
Wow, that's so fucking climactic. This was a mind fuck. Like, what the fuck? Did I just watch a spoof film?
I just left disgusted. I was pissed. For me, this is definitely the worst Star Wars movie I've seen.
This movie had flaws way from beginning to end. It didn't even feel like a Star Wars film.
Where it falls apart is the most important thing, the story.
This movie is like 12 people wrote scripts, they put them all in a blender, and only kept the shitty parts.
There was literally like 7 different freaking plots going on at once.
Stupid fucking scene after stupid fucking scene.
If you write a script that is so flawed, that is so disrespectful, that it might as well be a giant dick slap in the face.
It's a joke. It's a fucking plot hole written joke.
There's so many plot holes and things that don't make sense.
Oh man, I feel like it was sloppy writing. It really was sloppy writing.
It was terrible storytelling. Nothing happens. There's no character development.
You learn nothing. Nothing gets moved forward. People are dying left and right, and it just doesn't matter.
It was too fucking jokey. There was fucking never try to like push the jokes on anyone and everywhere, and I don't get it. Why?
I don't understand why they went so far out of their way to push out their base of fans.
They gave the movie to some guy and said, make a movie and just do whatever the fuck you want.
I honestly feel like I could have wrote a better fucking movie. Like, what the fuck was that?
Okay, I took issue with one of those things. They said that they didn't take it seriously. I felt like they did. I think they took it too seriously. They took it way too seriously. I mean, you're going to do jokes or something like that. That's one thing, but all right. So, well, before I get on to the actual topic of the episode, I did want to mention that that Twilighty show about that zone will be returning. I'm working on season 4 right now. I've made a couple of decisions with regard to this latest series. I'm not going to have any guests. It's just going to be me talking about the episodes. I just want to see how that goes. It gets to be a bit of a pain in the butt, not only for me, but for, like, I guess people to be asked on occasion. So I'd like to give a little time off for that, but I will be recording new episodes of the show. All right. Now I want to talk about homelessness. This is the main topic du jour, if you will. The homeless epidemic. What is going on here? We're in 2018. This is the future. You don't necessarily have a depression/recession situation when you have so much money coming in. What it is actually probably is that people are taking their money and keeping it. They're not giving it away. You know, I try to help where I can, but I realize it's not a good thing. And a $1 here or $5 there is not going to put a dent in anybody's problems. But there is certainly more that could be done, because you have this incredible nation that has so much space out there, but we have so many people in the inner cities, of course, because that's the majority of where people are. And you can have a lot of renters. You probably have more renters per capita than you do owners, because owners own property. They'll own a piece of property, and then 20 people will live in that. So you're going to have more renters. You're going to have more people making a lot of money, too. I mean, we were kind of taken advantage of living upstate by very, very greedy entities who did not address basic needs, maintenance, and tended to blame us for every problem. And then any problem that surfaces that owners might have, they just pass it on to the renter. It's like, I don't have to pay for this. I'll just raise the rent or something like that. Like we've had to deal with on more than one occasion. My favorite is property taxes. Oh, property taxes went up, so we're raising your rent. Anyway, the thing is, as renters, we live in that constant fear of being homeless because we don't have like that piece of property or something. But in New York City is one of the rare exceptions. You're not gonna read about that much going on in as far as controversy involving tenants in New York City, because New York City has extremely powerful tenant rights. And for the most part, even if you're going to quote unquote buy a piece of property, you don't really own that piece of property technically, unless it's completely paid for. For some reason, the phone's ringing. I'm sorry about that. But what you're going to do is you're essentially leasing it or you're renting it for a time. The bank is the one who actually takes out the principal loan and purchases the property, which it then funnels the payments along to you over a very long amount of time, say 15 to 30 years or something like that. And depending on which mortgage you choose, it's going to affect your monthly payment. In addition to everything else you have to worry about. That's another problem. This is probably why I don't own, because I really don't feel like pushing a lawnmower around. So, you have a homeless epidemic. California has become the garden spot of the homeless. I believe we talked about this before in the Curse of California episode, where you have these tent cities being lined up in every major town. San Francisco, San Diego, Santa Monica, Los Angeles. Yeah, and even in the Berkeley area, I believe there are tent cities that are being erected right there in front of City Hall. Nobody has the balls to do anything about it, because this is not something that you want to be known for in higher cabinet. You don't want to be known as the people that kick the homeless people out, because there's no place to kick them to, really, right? What are you going to do? I had this idea that maybe the Los Angeles Reservoir was just parched and depleted and drought-ridden most of the time unless we get a flood. California's fantastic. Dump all the homeless into the reservoir. And then, as the rain piles up, maybe we can drown our problems away, huh? How about that? And also, California has, I guess, more inviting weather for you don't see. Actually, it's strange in New York in the wintertime. They get the hell out of here because they know they're going to die if they stay out there. It's crazy. We have minus 9-degree weather. I don't care how many layers you wear, you're not going to survive that. This is one of the more egregious problems is that churches refuse to help. They're not doing anything about it. They would rather collect money. Catholic Church also collects an enormous amount of money every year, billions of dollars. And what do? They send it to Africa for some reason. Maybe they're like the government too. They don't want to admit that this is a problem or something because it doesn't fit with the narrative of this being the greatest country in the world. It is the greatest country in the world, but there's an idea out there that says if you want to evaluate the status of a country or a nation, you have to look at its poor. Yeah, our poor are very well off the way things go. They're on the government dole and everything. But then there's the people that are the sub-poor, the people who don't have anything, the people who look at their sleeping bag as their only property, or a cardboard tent that's being rolled out that they have to sit in, or a box, living in boxes. And too often you got the wealthy out there trying to get the people into smaller and smaller apartments because they want more land for themselves. It's kind of like the whole thing with trying to get people to eat bugs and mac and cheese and all kinds of cheap sources of really bad protein or something like that. This isn't about. It's not about lizard people, number one, and it's not about conserving our resources. It's about keeping all the good food away from them because they don't, because only the wealthy should eat a decent steak or something like that. That's why I try to eat. I try to get good quality food into the house because good quality food tends to be hard to come by. There's a lot of weird stuff out there. So the churches refuse to help. They ignore it. Even churches hate the homeless. Everybody hates it. So, and then you get into cycles of homelessness. Excuse me. The cycle is you get into a situation. I was homeless. We were homeless. Moved to New York in February of 1988. We're homeless on the street by December, 2 weeks before Christmas. Exactly 2 weeks before Christmas, we were thrown out of our home, and we had to take up residence in a hotel for very messed up people, prostitutes, crackheads, drug dealers, pimps, and all that kind of stuff, whatever was going on. And this is the end of the 80s in the Koch administration. So you had a mayor who didn't really care or was apathetic or wanted to ignore the problem. The cycle starts because it becomes too expensive to live where you're living. You can't afford to pay the bills anymore. You can't afford to pay the rent. You get thrown out. So it is a cycle that goes on. That's on the economic side. Now, on the other side, you have the correlation between the closure of state hospitals. It started in California under Governor Reagan, and then the rise of homelessness from that. So the majority of your homeless are going to be your mentally unbalanced people. They're going to be the people that no one wants to take care of. There's no money in it. It's a profit loss. It's a net loss. Everything about it is a loss financially. So you kind of depend on people, I guess, being kind, being sympathetic, by being altruistic. And it's not happening anymore because too many people, they look at the homeless. We all look at the homeless and say, my God, that could be us. We better hold on to everything we have. You don't get rich giving it away. You don't get rich writing checks, I think my wife likes to say. You don't get rich writing checks, despite all that bullshit from entrepreneurs who have billions of dollars saying you got to spend money to make money. Of course you do. If you have billions of dollars, you can do that. But if you're one of the fake wealthy, these people who pretend to be wealthy who actually aren't, they're not writing any checks. They got to keep getting to those jobs. Because if they don't have that job, they lose everything. And you do lose everything. And it seems like there is an enormous setup for failure going on. So you have nationwide apathy and opportunism. I think this is where the charity comes into it. Now, there's been a commercial that's been running repeatedly especially on TBS. I watch a lot of TBS. I don't know why. I like to keep it on. It's a source of comfort because it shows all my favorite sitcoms. Like, I don't know. It shows Family Guy and American Dad and Seinfeld. And hell, I even watched The Big Bang Theory and a couple of other things. Anyway, it just started about 3 weeks ago, I want to say. It was about 3 weeks ago. There were these commercials for State Farm's Neighborhood of Good charity organization. And it's basically, what they're trying to say around the holidays, because this was around the holidays, you've got like a nice festive atmosphere in your local soup kitchen or something like that. And there's this dude playing a piano. And it's a bunch of people kind of like, they're all eating together, and it's good to be, they're homeless though, So you can't, they're not one of you. You have to look at them with a combination of sympathy and disgust. You have to say, oh, bless their hearts, keep them away from me, but bless their hearts. This guy's singing Don't You Forget About Me, the Simple Minds song. I think it's from, the Simple Minds song, Don't You Forget About Me, from the movie The Breakfast Club from 1985, right? And he's singing in a very, don't you forget about me. It's meant to make you feel like shit. But they were showing these commercials. They averaged 2 times per a 3-minute commercial break on TBS. They played at the beginning of the commercial rotation and then at the end before they get back to the regular program. Now, I found this on the website. There is a website for the State Farm Neighborhood of Good. The State Farm Neighborhood of Good helps turn caring into doing. We make it easy to find and volunteer for the causes that matter to you in your neighborhood. The State Farm Neighborhood of Good helps turn caring into doing. This is from the website. It seems like what they want is for you to do most of the work. It's like we'll point you in the right direction. You get out there and you volunteer. We're busy running an insurance scam here. So we'll take your money, of course, and we will point you in the way of doing extra work. It's like you already have to do a lot of work anyway just to not be homeless. We're going to make you work some more. We don't have staff. I don't think we do. Maybe we have a bunch of people who have T-shirts that say Neighborhood of Good. But okay, I did want to bring this up. When there are ways to monitor charities. You go to the Charity Navigator database, so you can get the lowdown. Sorry about that. You get the lowdown about what these salaries are, what are the benefits being accorded, and how much of the money you donate actually goes to the charity. And the reason why we have a Charity Navigator in the first place is because so many charities exist to keep themselves employed, when the purpose of the charity should be to put themselves out of business. That should be the point of a charity. We should arrive at a situation at some point where people have everything they need and we will never have a need for a charity again. I know that's probably never going to happen because people always fall on hard times all the time. Anyway, go to the Charity Navigator database, as I did. As of today, there is no listing either for Neighborhood of Good or State Farm. Nor can I find any information about this charity other than the official website. Why is that? Because this seems like another fly-by-night scheme from a company that specializes in schemes. I mean, if you're in the health insurance racket, you are basically a con artist. Now, what I did manage to find about State Farm's new CEO, Michael Tipsard, who replaced Edward Rust Jr. last year, I believe, he's making $9.35 million per year in a pay package, which means he gets that, he gets a whole bunch of other stuff. Edward Rust, from what I understand, lived in Indiana. He kind of lived in a modest home, but he was still making that kind of money. So whatever it was stretching. He's not anyone who was ever going to have to worry about homelessness. And as a result of his severance, I think his severance was a whole $10 million or something like that. So unless he's a complete and utter moron who doesn't invest properly, he'll do just fine. He'll do better than fine. Now, Michael Tipsard, of course, with inflation, for some reason, it gets really difficult. Oh, my God. I don't know how I'm going to live on 9.35. So he'll probably wind up with $15 million by the end of next year. $15 million a year. Pay package. The pay packages usually consist of a fleet of company cars. And we're not talking Ford Focus here. We're talking Mercedes. We're talking BMW. We're talking Peugeot. So some nice Peugeots. And then you get, housekeeping services and things like that. Nanny daycare. I don't know if you need to really drop your billionaire kid off to daycare. Oh, those poor babies. What are you gonna do about it? So the incentive for working a charity scam is to make money. It's very interesting. It's very good coffee, by the way. It's like this Dunkin' Donuts chocolate glazed that my wife picked up for me. I enjoy the gourmet coffee, if you will. It's an added expense, but I do get tired of Folgers. As I said, the charity's main purpose should be to put itself out of business. There's nothing wrong with living a living competing wage. But I got to think when you're working for a charity, it should be that and nothing else. And there should be no bonuses. There should be no break. But they want business people for some reason. No one's going to come down hard on you for being a charity if you're giving money to people. I mean, if you're giving money to people or services or resources to people who actually need it, and if you have properly vetted those people, make sure, maybe put them into hospital situations if they're crazy, put them into rehab situations if they're alcoholics or drug addicts, or try to set them up in some kind of workfare program. Workfare is not a problem for me. I have no problem with workfare. I believe people should work, and you're getting money. That's a job. So it's like you're working. You have a job. You have a job. You're getting paid money for it. That's my idea of workfare. The way Michael Moore presents the idea of workfare is forcing people get on a bus and drive 20 miles out of the way. But you're supposed to get paid. What else? What's the option? You're sitting there just earning money off the government, just taking money off the government from taxes and all that. You want to provide a little incentive there for people who need jobs or want to be able to have jobs, but you create a system of exclusion by making the conditions and the requirements for employment higher and higher, more ridiculous. You need college degrees you shouldn't need a college fucking degree to operate a personal computer. That's horseshit. That is absolute fucking horseshit. So obviously, this tends to depress people. When I got laid off from my job in 2013, I believe it was September of 2013, I got laid off, right? I collected unemployment for 6 months and then it was cut off. That was it. That's all you get is 6 months of unemployment. And you're on your own, motherfucker. And there's a lot of people who become unemployed who are disheartened. They're depressed. They don't want to go looking for jobs, especially when you're laid off, actually. If you get fired for doing something horrible, that's kind of on you. But when you're laid off because of bad mismanagement of funds from your employer, and they have to cut a whole department like they did with mine, it gets to be really depressing because you feel like you don't feel like you fucked up. You feel like everything's out to get you. And it really does fuck with your head. So there's a lot of people out there, a good percentage of people that are just in a bad situation, and bad luck. People talk about bad luck. And then you have this terrible, somewhat recent phenomena. I say it's a recent phenomenon. It probably went on in the past because of just people were horrible in the past, but there's no excuse for it in 2018. You dump people out onto the street from the hospital. The hospital, their employees just grab people and just dump them out on the street. Don't want to deal with them anymore. You are a financial black hole. Get off our property. Because that seems to be what it's about. It seems to be about the financial black hole. This is profit motive. This is profit centers. Hospital is a profit center. They're going to make a lot of money off of you. They're going to make a lot of money off of wealthy people who need their appendix taken out. Well, it's interesting. They'll work with you if you don't have that much money, right? If you're a poor person, you pay maybe $3 or $4 grand to have your appendix removed. If you're rich, you pay 20. Isn't that wonderful? That's capitalism, baby. So after that, what are we left with? People hate the homeless. We hate the homeless. They're terrible. And They probably are, but the thing is, just because you're terrible doesn't mean you shouldn't get a shot at life. You shouldn't get a shot at turning it around or something. You might be in a really bad position now, but you might wind up doing something incredible in the future. We don't know, and we'll never know because of the way we write people off. That's just the way it is. I don't know what else to say. Be very careful about charities. Be very careful about that. If you see that somebody who runs a charity is making $600,000 a year, chances are that very little of that money is going to wind up in the hands of the people who actually need it. Charity should be something that you want to do. The idea of being generous should be the idea. It should be about something that comes from you. You shouldn't be forced into it. You shouldn't be guilted with these ridiculous commercials that are showing up. If you're a religious person, if you read your Bible, and your Bible tells you to be kind to other people, although Bibles don't really tend to do that. The Christian religion and all that stuff. I mean, like maybe the whole loving your fellow man thing, the new fad of modern Christianity, even though Christ did say, "I come with a sword," ascribe to the better values of Christianity, of welfare, of charity, of love and compassion. I mean, this is what we need. We don't need people making $10 million a year in pay packages or anything like that. We need love, understanding, and compassion. That's what we need. And that's really all I have to say about it. Have a good night. When The Last Jedi sucked. I don't know if I mentioned that before, but yeah, it sucked. Have a good night.